The golden ratio, divine design or ancient lie? They say the ancient Greeks discovered the most beautiful number in the universe, a ratio so perfect, it appears in the Parthenon, in the pyramids, in Leonardo da Vinci's masterpieces. They say it's the divine proportion, the golden ratio, pi. But what if I told you it's mostly a lie? (1.618). That's phi, the golden ratio, the number with 1,000 faces. Look at the Parthenon in Athens. The ratio of its width to height, golden ratio. The Great Pyramid of Giza, golden ratio. The Mona Lisa's face, golden ratio. Seashells spiraling into infinity, golden ratio. Your own body proportions? You guessed it, golden ratio. It's everywhere, or so they say. The story goes like this: ancient Greek mathematicians, particularly Euclid around 300 BC, discovered a special proportion. When you divide a line into two parts so that the whole length divided by the longer part equals the longer part divided by the shorter part, you get phi. Approximately 1.618. The Greeks called it the divine proportion. They believed it represented perfect beauty, cosmic harmony, the fingerprint of God in mathematics. Renaissance artists rediscovered it. They measured ancient temples, studied human anatomy, and declared, "This is why Greek art is so beautiful." They used the golden ratio. Leonardo da Vinci illustrated a book literally called De Divina Proportio, the divine proportion. The golden ratio became legend. Fast forward to the 19th century. Mathematician Adolf Zeising took it further. He measured everything: flowers, animals, buildings, human faces. And he found the golden ratio everywhere. Or did he? Here's what actually happened. Let's start with the Parthenon, that perfect Greek temple that supposedly embodies the golden ratio. Except, it doesn't. The actual proportions of the Parthenon? About 1.74 to 1. Not 1.618. But that's close enough, you might say. Is it? Because 1.5 is also close. So is 1.7. If we're being generous with our measurements, we can find any ratio we want. The Great Pyramid, when measured from base to height, it gives you approximately 1.57. Not 1.618. But maybe they meant a different measurement. And that's the problem. When you have a complex three-dimensional structure, you can find dozens of different ratios depending on what you measure. Keep measuring until you find something close to 1.618. And declare, golden ratio. This is called cherry picking. And it's everywhere in golden ratio folklore. The Mona Lisa's face, people draw rectangles around it and claim golden ratio. But move the rectangle slightly, and you get a different ratio. The human brain is excellent at seeing patterns, even when they're not really there. Nautilus shells, often cited as perfect golden spirals. Except most nautilus shells don't follow the golden ratio. They follow a different logarithmic spiral. Flowers with Fibonacci numbers? That's actually real. Sunflowers do tend to have 34, 55, or 89 spirals. But that's because of Fibonacci numbers, not directly because of phi. It's related, but not the same mystical force people imagine. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The golden ratio does have a real mathematical relationship with something in nature. The Fibonacci sequence: 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. Each number is the sum of the two before it. And if you divide consecutive Fibonacci numbers, you get closer and closer to phi. 3 divided by 2 equals 1.5. 5 divided by 3 equals 1.667. 8 divided by 5 equals 1.6. 13 divided by 8 equals 1.625. Keep going, and you approach 1.618. Phi. This is real mathematics, and Fibonacci numbers do appear in nature, particularly in plant growth patterns. The spirals on a pine cone, the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower, the branching of trees. Why? Because it's an efficient packing arrangement. Plants grow new cells at angles that prevent overlap. And the math behind this naturally produces Fibonacci patterns. So phi does appear in nature, just not in the mystical, universal way the legends claim. If the golden ratio myths are mostly false, why do people still believe them? 3 reasons. First, confirmation bias. Once you're told the golden ratio is everywhere, you start seeing it everywhere. Your brain looks for patterns that confirm what you already believe. Second, it makes a good story. Ancient Greeks discovered a divine proportion is more compelling than ancient Greeks used practical construction ratios that varied from building to building. Third, beauty is subjective, but numbers feel objective. If you can say, this is beautiful because math, it gives authority to your opinion. It turns taste into truth. The golden ratio became a way to claim that certain proportions are objectively, mathematically beautiful. That Greek temples are superior not just because we like them, but because they follow universal cosmic laws. It's comforting. It suggests the universe has an aesthetic order. That beauty isn't random or cultural, but mathematical and eternal. But beauty doesn't work that way. Studies have shown that when you show people rectangles of different proportions, without telling them about the golden ratio, they don't consistently prefer 1.618 rectangles. Their preferences vary. The golden ratio doesn't make things beautiful. We decided certain things were beautiful, then claimed they followed the golden ratio. So is the golden ratio completely meaningless? No. It's a real number with real mathematical properties. It appears in geometry, particularly in pentagons and pentagrams. It's connected to the Fibonacci sequence. It shows up in some natural growth patterns. But it's not a universal law of beauty. It's not hidden in every masterpiece. The ancient Greeks didn't obsessively design everything around it. What the Greeks actually did was impressive enough without the myths. They developed sophisticated mathematical theory. They created beautiful architecture through skill, iteration, and cultural tradition. They didn't need a magic number. The Renaissance artists who supposedly rediscovered the golden ratio, they were brilliant craftsmen who understood composition, light, and form. They didn't need phi to paint the Mona Lisa. And modern designers who insist on golden ratio proportions, they're often creating beautiful work despite the ratio, not because of it. Good design comes from understanding human perception, cultural context, and countless small decisions, not from following a formula. The truth is more interesting than the legend. Mathematics disappear in nature, but in subtle, complex ways. Beauty does follow patterns, but they're patterns of human psychology and culture, not cosmic constants. The golden ratio myth teaches us something important about how myths spread. Take a grain of truth. Phi has interesting mathematical properties. Add some cherry-picked examples. Look, this temple is kind of close to 1.618. Wrap it in mysticism, the divine proportion, the fingerprint of God. Repeat it for centuries, and suddenly, everyone knows that the golden ratio is the secret of beauty. But knowledge requires skepticism. When someone says, this number is everywhere, ask, everywhere, or just where you looked for it. When someone says, the ancients knew this secret, ask, did they? Or did we project our beliefs onto them? When someone says, this is objectively beautiful, because mathematics, remember, beauty is human. Mathematics is human, and humans love finding patterns, even in randomness. The golden ratio is beautiful, not because it makes things beautiful, but because it's a beautiful piece of mathematics. A number that emerges from simple rules and connects to unexpected places. That's enough. It doesn't need to be magic. The ancient Greeks didn't design the Parthenon using the golden ratio. Leonardo didn't measure phi into the Mona Lisa. Nature doesn't follow a universal aesthetic formula. But here's what's true. Humans have been making beautiful things for thousands of years. Sometimes they used mathematical proportions. Sometimes they used intuition. Sometimes they just tried things until something looked right. And that's more remarkable than any myth. Because beauty isn't a number you discover. It's something you create. The golden ratio? It's a fascinating mathematical constant, with real applications in geometry and nature. Just not the ones the legends claim. Next time someone tells you the golden ratio is the secret of beauty, ask them to prove it. They'll find it's harder than they think. Some numbers are divine. Some are just really good marketing. The truth matters more than the legend. And that's the story of phi. 1.618. The number that's everywhere we want to find it, and nowhere we don't.